Welcome to Unit 3 of AP US Government and Politics. Let us get this started with. This one's a killer Unit 3, mainly because it's a bunch of liberties and a bunch of rights, and it has a lot of foundational documents. And so today we'll be talking about mostly the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, and due process, and all the good liberties stuff that all the American people really love. So how about we just get to it? Alright, first of all, we have this. The Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights is the first 10 amendments towards the Constitution of the United States. Overall, there's like 27 something US amendments. Yeah, officially it's 27 amendments. With the first 10 being the Bill of Rights, and they being added all together. The rest of the 17, they're all like, yeah, we're gonna add this right now, Because there were like 3 that were added together, but the most that have been added at one time was the Bill of Rights, mainly because the Constitution was a big mess, and that they needed to be able to amend it. So first of all, this is not history class, so I will not try to get too much on history, not for AP US history, but I do want to talk about constitutions a little bit. The old Constitution of the United States, the original one, was terrible at amending, and it was terrible to make changes, or even, well, go ahead and apply, or even enforce, mainly because the states were given the powers, essentially 13 countries trying to be in like a one little alliance, whereas everyone's all like, yeah, I don't like all this. And back then, if you wanted to amend the Constitution, you needed all 13 out of 13 states to agree to amend the Constitution. And even if you could get all 12 out of those 13, there's always one state that'll hold out to the last one. You know which one I'm talking about, right? South Carolina? No! It's Rhode Island. This is why we can't have nice stuff. Okay, and this is the Bill of Rights. Now, I showed you this poster before on like several different videos I had, so I was like, why not just reuse it for this video? Why not? And because I feel like this is a little bit too old, so I just went ahead and found online. I found this place on Teachers Pay Teachers, and I just downloaded this. I downloaded this poster. It was free. At least the Google images, it was free. So here are the Bill of Rights. First Amendment is the freedom of speech and religion. Whatever religion you have, whatever kind of thoughts you have, you can just go ahead and do it that way. You can do it that way. You can just go ahead and do whatever you want. This is a free country. You can say whatever you want, and you can also say whatever. And you can also believe in whatever you want. And the Second Amendment is the right to bear arms. Now, in the context of this amendment, it was like the 1780s, and the best a gun can do is just kill one person, not like kill several people at the same time. And these things were very expensive. Yes, they are still expensive today, but look at how much the USA is spending on guns and military budget. You think no one will be able to get a gun? Anyways, the thing is, the United States Constitution didn't really want people to rebel. Well, at least really wanted people to rebel if the USA became corrupt in the future. And the problem is, well, they created this to make sure that people can ensure themselves that they have rebellion available if, well, the government is corrupt. But nowadays you can realize that this is a pretty big mistake, because people decide not to rebel against the government because they love the government, but instead they decide to go and shoot schools. And now the Third Amendment is no quartering soldiers. This means that, well, soldiers can't stay here. You're not allowed to go ahead. You're not allowed to be forced to keep soldiers within your house, unlike the olden days. Whereas the fourth one is like you're not allowed unreasonable searches or seizures, such as like taking things, unless you have reasonable caution. And the Fifth Amendment is called you're allowed to stay silent from confessing a crime. Now, this is what it means to like plead the fifth. You're like, I plead the fifth means I'm going to be like silent. The Sixth Amendment is that you have the right to a fair and speedy trial. Seventh Amendment is that the trial by jury, the jury itself is handpicked by several people, and the judge as the mediator. The Eighth Amendment is that the bail or whatever punishment you're given for your crime must be reasonable. It must not be extravagant, like, this poor person, we're gonna send her to jail. Yeah, I want to bail him out at $500. No, it must be $1 million. No, that's not allowed. Let's torture this person because he's stolen this piece of bread. That's cruel and unusual. The Ninth Amendment is that people are entitled to more rights than what are listed in the U.S. Constitution. This just gives us the power to go ahead and amend the Constitution itself, leading towards the 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, all the way to the 27th Amendment, with more coming along the way. And the 10th Amendment is that any other rights can be decided by individual states or groups of people. That's the thing. That's essentially the Bill of Rights, and that's the first 10 Bill of Rights. And, of course, with that, you have to go ahead and talk about due process. Due process is where you're doing things abided by the law. You solve problems, like say you're being arrested, then you still have to be given your due process. You still have to be read your rights, because people did not know about their rights. Who would bother reading the whole Constitution itself? So they have to be told their rights, and the police officers are required to it. And those ones who are zealous and don't stay cheering around their rights, well, they get into some big troubles. And you have a right to an attorney. Like, most people can't exactly afford an attorney, so you're given a public attorney. One little downside about a public attorney, though, is that that attorney is most likely supposed to take other people's cases along with your case, so probably not the best quality ever, but it's free, so can you complain? Speaking of Miranda rights, whenever you're arrested, I suppose they went ahead and darkened the person to show that, to not be able to show the person being arrested. But the thing is, you have to read your Miranda rights. You have to be given your Miranda rights. And if you go ahead and are read it, you have to use them. Unless you don't want to use them because you're not guilty, you're innocent. Now, this is a comic. This is a comic I saw. It was a political comic. I said it was kind of funny because white police officer, black person who's being arrested, and then this police officer is supposed to be reading the Miranda rights. And here's the thing: the political cartoon itself, this little play, not too funny itself, but it's a little. This just means that, okay, so just read it. I have the right to be treated as a human. You can already see where this is going. Anything I say or do doesn't give you the right to murder me. This is just a little political satire comic on about how white police officers tend to arrest and kill black people a bit more. And we can't talk about rights without talking about civil rights. I talked about the civil rights movement several times on this channel, so I'm not going to talk about it too long right now. You can go check out those videos. I think I made like several videos on the civil rights, including Martin Luther King and the Civil War itself. But the civil rights itself, it's a social movement. It went ahead to demand the equality between the sexes and the colors, mostly the races. So because, well, the sexes were already being accepted as the norm. Women can still start working. Women were allowed to go to college more. It's just that now we have to make sure that black people and white people and yellow people, and this is ridiculous, but apparently blue people do exist. Don't believe me? Here, blue people exist, and for some reason they're only in Kentucky. But the point is equal rights. That was the whole point. You have to go ahead and get your rights, and the US people really, really love their rights. So when the US government started violating their rights, you know who are they going to point their fingers towards? The US government. And so it's the US government's job to go ahead and protect your civil rights. And if you can't protect your civil rights, well, you're going to need a very new government. But that's not going to happen anytime soon. So until then, keep this justice. Until next time, Shuhana, peace. Bye-bye.